Morning, everybody. About a minute early. We'll get going. I know we usually got a lot to cover, anyways. Let's talk about the trading day yesterday that we did. So, as y'all know, we trade the 2 minute chart. Yesterday was like a scalper's dream. So, let's talk about how we did, how our indicators did, how everything kind of played out, right? So, if you look at Tuesday market open, we did end up in this range here. If you guys remember from the huddle when we talked about, kind of zooming out, right? We had prior resistance at this level here, and I'm gonna mute this one for right now. But we had prior resistance at this level here, and we'd mentioned if we can hold this, right? If we can flip the 440 13 area and we can actually hold it as support, then we're likely to see that 442, but you can see that it did not hold. You can see that, right at the market open, right, we just were bearish right out the gate, right? There's really not a lot of bullish sentiment. It tried to hold some support right there, but it broke through, couldn't do it, double topped here, broke down. And then it just kind of created its lower high, lower lows, right, throughout the day. It was a great time to short the market yesterday. And so when you put our indicators on, right, you can see that from the market open, this one's on top because of the way that the market opened. If it wouldn't do that if I switched to extended hours, but you have the short call here, the back crab played out perfectly. You have the long that played out great, and you have the short that played out great. So indicator wise, scalping, we did well. So let's talk about the 1 hour here, and let's kind of zoom out here. So on the 1 hour, we do have this short up here that played out. We do have the long down here that played out, and we have not printed a long yet, which is interesting because we did have a nice little run up here, but it still did not like it. It didn't print the long. We did get the gap fill sniper did print a little fractal here, so that did catch that. We did get a rejection off of the top of it, which played out well. So now kind of where we go from here. So the key points I'm going to be watching today. Point number one is we are still green here. We are still green on the divergence hunter. And so we have not quite flipped red even though we pulled back. Apologize, something on my throat today again. So we have not flipped, since we pulled back. So actually, it looks like we did get a long call right here. Actually, interesting. So we may see this kind of coincides with what I was just going to talk about. If you see that we have the 21 SMA right here on the 1 hour, and when you look at the 21 SMA, we came down, we hit it, and we bounced back up right in the last hour. So if we can continue to stay above this 21 SMA. Right, then it's going to just kind of go sideways for a little bit, and then we'll start to see that pressure back north for the retest, right, of the 440 or 442. However, if you flip this, so I would not take any puts unless you are below 437.50. And if you wanted to take puts, in the upper part of it, I would just be really cautious and make sure you get up closer to the 440 range or potentially 442 before you take that put. So we do have some trend lines, that we can true up. This one looks like it got moved. It was some from yesterday. So if you came up like that, right, you can see that we did break below it. Now we can kind of pull this back to that one. So it's just a small little trend line, nothing too fancy. And so we just have a little bounce right there. This one over here, it was something that we were holding from this lower level. Looks like I locked it, but let's adjust this just a little bit. Let's try to get those peaks, or the lows, I guess. So, because if you take this like that, it's pretty significant in the fact that you have each hit here, right, on the way down. You even have it there. It broke down, it retested, it failed, and then now it came back through, it broke it, and we're retesting it as support. So if we can retest this little pocket here and retest this as support, then we're likely to push up. From a longer standpoint or view, I guess, for the next few days. I guess, yeah, because Friday would be about here. We could be seeing something where we go down, we have our pump up, we have our retest, we break this, right, come back down, create a higher low somewhere in here, right? Could be possible. And even the higher low could be here, come up, and then the people see this as a double bottom, right? And then so if that breaks out, that would propel us like north in a pretty big way. I would say at least up to 444. So, but that's going to be big based on the news for the NVIDIA earnings. Hell indicators. You guys say that, but as if you can't see my chart and see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I love the California hella though. I can relate. And so that's just kind of where my thoughts are with that. Like I said, for today, I'm just going to play the range, play the indicators. We still have that bullish divergence back here. And then you have we're still in that green right there, right? So, but we got some news that could dictate that. So, shorts, version is, I suspect that if we break this level of 437, then we're going to come down and retest at least 435. I think we'll hold a higher low, at least for a little while. Now the upper range, like I said, 442 would be what I'll be watching when I set my live trader stuff. Let's take a look at a few of these. So Apple's still holding the 177. We talked about that briefly yesterday. So it held the lower range down here, pumped back up. It is fighting the 200 EMA on the 1 hour. So if it rejects off of this 200 EMA below this 21 SMA, then we're going to see that retest of the 172. However, if it can flip 178, 179 or so and hold that support, then you're going to see a big burst up. Just taking a quick look at Google, a few of these other ones. So Google's in the mid-range on the 1 hour. We are below the 200 EMA. So for Google, I'd be cautious taking your calls unless you get above 435.58. Get above this 200 EMA. Otherwise, if you get some kind of rejection and bearish confirmation, you can take a nice little scalp put off it. Still got this trend line that we were watching from here. So anywhere around 132 or so calls would be great. Zone tracker is calling it a little bit lower, so we have 129 or so is what the major support is at. Microsoft. There was some news I was listening to yesterday on Microsoft that was quite interesting. My thing with Microsoft is, I think I said this yesterday, it has a kind of feel like how Tesla was doing, right? And so how we had that push north and then we had that reversal back down. We could still see one more push north up into this range here from this side. The key on that is going to be kind of hold and maintain this 1 hour 200 EMA. So you can see it's literally right at it. It's like right above it right here. So if we can get the golden cross here to complete, which if you zoom in, it's like barely right there, right? It just barely completed. So we got that retest here. So if this retest can hold, then we're likely to see a nice little move north on Microsoft. I don't see much going on. Amazon's pretty much same boat. You got the 200. Let's look at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, we talked about this yesterday. As I told everybody, if you caught the long, awesome. It was great pump, great, a lot of money made. 481 or so right here, 481. We had talked about was heavy resistance due to this area here. So that's where we marked that off. We marked this yesterday morning. And I had said if you had taken this long, great. Trail your stop loss pretty tight because we're likely to have that pullback. So, and right here you can see at 9, we end up having the pullback. This was basically because we're on the 1 hour, right? Market open. So we had a market open kind of dump. I mean, you can see that this is all the hedge funds, right? They're just taking their profits is what that is. And so we did flip below the 21 SMA, and we are still holding below the 21 SMA. So we could have, one more little pressure drop down to like 445. This would be a great entry to buy, right, with the earnings coming through. So I would hold off until if you're wanting to take calls, either I want it to get down to this 445, or I want to see it at least flip this 21 SMA around 461, 460, or I'm sorry, 464, 465. We are still red here, so we do have room to go down on the RSI. That could coincide with the 445 that I'm seeing possible here. So we did not get a short call necessarily on the 1 hour yet, but we did get the ABCD index. Let's see, or extended. I mean, let's see what the 15-minute looks like on this one. I'm just curious. Yeah, it's kind of flat on the 15. So we had our pump, we had our dump, and then it's just kind of rolling. But the 200 EMA on the 15 minutes 455. So that's why we're just kind of hovering above that. Let's take a look at the dollar. So we actually broke through. This is interesting. I did not think this would break. I was just talking about this yesterday. That is interesting. That's likely what's pulling back the market. But keep in mind, when you look at the dollar, this is going to be interesting because this trend right here has not broken since back here, right? So you got March. We had that hit all through here, held as resistance, and it just broke it. My suspicion is we'll probably push north 104.4 or so. Maybe we might touch this peak, so let's mark this peak here right there, and we might come up and hit this peak and then have that rejection down like this. So that would be a good mark to watch, because if we do get up to there and we start to reject, right, that's going to move the markets north. But currently the dollar is pumping. Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's just been ranging, as we talked about yesterday. We had our fall. We just kind of been ranging tight like this. My concern with Bitcoin is it's got to get above this 200 on the 1 hour for me to be any kind of bullish. Otherwise, if it stays flat like this and this 200 creeps down into it, it could be enough to push it through this support, and down we go. However, if we do get any kind of pump or push north that can break us above 26.8, then we definitely have some upside. We can go back to about 28 or higher, right? Because two things typically happen with these type of patterns. You have your fall, your sideways, and then your fall again. Now, normally when you have your fall and you go sideways, if you're going to get a fall again, there typically is some kind of up like this, right? Some form of an up channel or some kind of bearish divergence, something going on, right? But there's not really that yet, because you have like here, right? You got your lower highs, but we have lower highs, right? So there's not, we don't have that. We're not really aiming up. We're just literally sideways. And so sometimes when you get these sideways, it could literally be just a fall accumulation phase, right? And then public participation back up to reclaim this fall. So it might take some news for that to happen, but I don't see anything quite yet showing me that, hey, we're about to crash again. Let's look at the other indicators. Yeah, we're not overly bearish, a little bit, but not overly. So we did get a little long scalp here, little short scalp there. Let's look at the 2 minute. So the 2 minute, we did get a nice little long scalp here. We did get this short, and it has not called a long yet. So I would not be taking longs on Bitcoin quite yet. The thing I'll leave you guys with Bitcoin, the last spot here is I would look for, if you're setting up spot buys or you're looking to do larger purchases, what I'm waiting for is this lower level. I'm just going to zoom out and show y'all right here that I have down here. So I would have limit buys all just about between 20,000, 20,500, maybe 21, right? Limit buys all within there. Those limit buys they're gonna pay off. So it may take time to hit them, but it's gonna pay off once it does. So all right, let's jump into the ATA. We're gonna clear all these lines and just kind of redo it. That's why I wanted to do 15 minutes on here. So we do have tight stop losses on our ATAs. So we did take a really good win here, and then the market just shifted. You know, I mean, we had a nice inverse head and shoulder call that it took there, and then just with the volatility in the news, right? Came down, hit its stop loss, came up, tried to hit it again. It did try to capture a put with the fall down here, which obviously came up and then would have played out over here, right? And that's just stop losses are great. You know, it's funny, like I get people that talk about stop losses as trading, and they like to just simply say, you always have a stop loss. You never trade without, like, the stop losses. Stop losses are great because they will save your account, right? Or they're great in a fashion that if you see it just completely going against you. But sometimes when you set them too tight, you have to remember that the market goes up, the market goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes back up, right? And so it's that balance. You know, that's just trading. You got to find that perfect balance because, you know, you set the stop loss too tight, and now you get in a situation pretty much like this, right? Where this one would have got out in profit right here, and this one likely is going to get out in profit when the market opens, right? On that. And so instead, you know, we set it to a tight stop loss to minimize that risk, and unfortunately that's what happens, right? It takes you out on both those stop losses before it has the opportunity to get out. Now the thing about options trading, guys, on the copy trade, I try to keep these stop losses tighter like this, so to minimize kind of that risk, because we have a lot of people that do the copy trade, and so the risk tolerance is different. And so but, you know, I had mentioned to people who want to be more aggressive, like I have my other account that I run that I don't have on the copy trade because I'm willing to let each contract become my risk. And so when with options trading, if you take one contract out, let's say it's $200, if that contract expires all the way to the end, you don't lose your whole account, you lose $200, right? And so for me, when I trade options, most of the time, I'm not gonna say all the time, because there's times I'll stop out just because I could see if there's a double top or double bottom that's gonna go against me. But most of the time, you know, I play the contract, right, and that is my risk. And so, but with that, you know, large wins come with, you know, larger risk, right, larger potential losses. So we're gonna reset from here. We'll go in here, and I'm going to move this close candle over to 23. I don't really want to adjust the stop loss quite yet. We're gonna hold on to that. In the room when we do a little trading, I'm gonna run through some data. So I may make some adjustments to this, guys, on the copy trade as we go. I'm still gonna leave the 2-day contracts. I may take let's do 1 day. Let's do a 1 day contract. Let's just do some get in, get outs kind of trading. I don't want to go into the news tomorrow anyway, so we're gonna stop all trades at 3:45. I don't want nothing running after market. I'm gonna let this start at 10. We'll let it take a little bit here for the market open. Also because this will allow me to look at it for about 30 minutes once market opens to make a decision if I need to change anything. And then we're gonna just trade it till 2. So now with the 1 day, we don't need the strike price so far away. So we can go back to 0.3. No DCAs, and we have the stop loss. So, and I'm still, you know, gonna run that SARS for now. Again, I may change some of this stuff as I take some more time to look at it. I mean, we have 10 minutes left too on the call here, so I may look at it and change stuff right here. But let's just let's get what I want to do for now. We're gonna stop at end of day 3. All right, and then close trade on chart 23. All right. So what I want to do is I want to mute this, and then I'm going to open up. Let's clear all the drawings. Let's open up. I'll take this last 10 minutes and just kind of play with this. Let's go copy trade options. Let's just load up an indicator. Hopefully, I feel like in the morning, I think it's because right before market open, TradingView gets a little bit slower with loading and things like indicators and stuff. I have a feeling it's because of all the traffic that they likely see. Just the moment I close it, it's gonna pop. There you go. It did that to me last time too. All right, so let's take a look at what I want to do is I want to just look at the historical data, right? Let's see how like the calls would do, right? So if we'll stick with 2. You know, I have DCAs on there. Let's take these DCAs off. We don't want that. And let's set this to the 0.25. And let's see how this adjusts our win rate. And so you can see on the win rate here, right, how that got impacted a lot. We took a lot more stop losses because we have a tight stop loss. It's going to happen, right? So the key is there any level that we can push it up that's not increasing our risk too much, but might give it a little more room to breathe, right? So if we go up 0.5 or 0.05, it increases our win rate quite a bit. We cut out about 4 stop losses. So 0.35 doesn't seem like it makes much of a difference. Let's try 0.5. So you see the difference now. We've taken out, we've done twice the stop loss potential, but we cut our stop losses down by 1/3, right? So it's going to make that stop loss a little bit bigger, but potentially you have less stop losses. Now I'm showing you this not because I'm going to necessarily do this to style on the copy trade, but for those that are actually wanting to trade this on your own, right? I want you guys to see how I do this and how I anticipate my own risk when I want to set myself, right? So I might be willing to move that stop loss up a little bit more. Now, let's say we take a stop loss out. It drops it to only 4 stop losses that you hit. Now those 4 stop losses are going to be big because that means if they stopped out, that means that your contract expired, right? Now, let's say I were to increase my contract days. Let's say I decided I want to have a bigger account. I want to trade longer days. You can do a 7-day, right? Now it's only taken the 3. Notice how this changes. I think we have it capped at 7 right now. We might have to, I'll have Alex adjust that. But so you can see that 7 days. Now you can also look at this for puts, right? Because remember, that's just on calls. And you can see, so the puts only took 2 stop losses out of a total of 57 trades. Now there's some variables and options that you have to remember that, like the delta theta decay that you're going to have on your contracts. And so not every one of these wins will be big wins, right? But you're able to minimize those stop losses through those settings. You may be someone who wants to add DCA. Now that can add a significant impact on your trades as well. See how I add 1 DCA, now I only have 1 stop loss, right? You can look and say, okay, well, what if I added a second DCA? Does that get rid of that stop loss? No. Looks like it's still there. You can also change your strategies, right? You can say, okay, what if I did Trend Finder, which is super, super aggressive? You would have took 167 trades and only 3 stop losses if you utilize DCA. If you don't utilize DCA, you would have 113 trades with 4 stop losses. Now, what I'm going to pause on, I don't want to just only look at just the stats. That's what helps me kind of somewhat identify. What I want to look for is, do I see something like this where it's just consistent? I want consistent trades because these are going to be really, really great wins, right? Whereas if you take a like a put here on Friday, and this doesn't close until Tuesday, right? Although this closes in that TP1, it might be a small loss because you got some decay on your contract. So, but you can see Trend Finder gets stuck at times, right? But man, when you find that trend, it's so aggressive if you can capture that directional trend, right? Just like if I were to use Trend Finder and I were to flip this to call, you're gonna see, oh, it looks like it got stuck up over here. That's fine. And it's all downtrend, right? So it's really hard, right? So if you were to take calls up in this range when you know that we're downtrending, you can see how difficult it's going to struggle because it's trying to find the trend and you're going against the trend, right? So that's how you figure out whether it's safe to run that one or not. You want to try to find that trend. So then we can flip to moving average. My point is, do you see any of them getting stuck? Do you see lots of stop losses, right? And you notice there's a lot of gap in here. That's because I'm not running stop loss. So now what I want to show you is, let's go back to something like Trend Finder. On the call, we know it struggled, right? Let's add a stop loss. Look at how that changes everything. Yes, you take some stop losses in between, right? But every time it takes a stop loss, it's able to jump in and take just a ton of trades, right? You take your stop loss here, but then look at all these wins over here, right? And so that's the idea of stop losses. At least when you take a stop loss, it's going to try to quickly get that back, right? So it's going to make it very active. Now remember, you got extra stop losses here, but you're also in a downtrend. So now let's flip this to a put. Now look at that. I have no stop losses. I mean, this would have just been a ridiculous amount of wins, right? You would have had your stop loss here, but all through here, I mean, it just would have absolutely killed it, right? So even these few stop losses you took here, I mean, the wins outweigh that loss for sure. Now that's on a 0.5. Now I want to show you, if we do 0.25, we tighten it up, you're going to see a significant change, right, in how many stop losses are actually hit, right? So now if you look at it, see how tight that is, right, on these stop losses. So because we do have it really tight, but if we were to continuously run this one, right, you can see it stops out, but it just jumps right back into the trade, right? So you got to be willing to take those losses to be that aggressive. Now there's other ones such as moving average. The only thing I may consider is if we move the stop loss up a little bit to like 0.3 to give it a little more room to breathe. But again, the further you move that, but see, it jumps the percent up quite a bit. The more that you move that, the more risk obviously you're putting out there. So. And then you got range filter, and see, you have this great run down here, right? But if you miss it in the bounce, right, which this is support that we talked about before. So if I'm running a perfect ATA, I'm running your puts, and then when you get to that support, you flip that to your calls, right? Because when you go to call, you're gonna see, right, how that flips through. So you still get a couple stop losses. It looks like it stopped out and then jumped up, right? So again, that goes where you got to find that balance of that percent, right, of what is your risk that you're willing to let run to see if the trade can get out, right? And so if I bump that to 0.5, again, right, you can see here now it lets it run. It still took this one here. You can see where the stop loss is. So this helps you just kind of analyze that data on if you want to be aggressive. Now, when I do mine on the one I do on the side, I'm typically muting the indicators, and then what I like to do is, like you guys know, is I find my support, find my resistance, find the trend, right? We talked about how this was not going to hold. We were going to be in a downtrend. We knew that we were in the top of the channels, so you'd want to run those puts. Whereas now we're kind of getting into a potential support line here, right? Because you have You have this right here coming up like that. You can even almost pull it up like this and say, oh, okay, maybe that's where we got the bounce because we cut through this, right? And we had just captured these two. It's possible, right? So this could be a first level that you could put as far as a break, and then this next one would be the second level. So that's just kind of how to play with the TA, how to and you make it hard to understand. What questions do you have? Now, keep in mind, a lot of what I'm talking about is if you already have some knowledge on ATA on options, right, with contracts and all that. But if you have any questions, ask, man. I'm happy to help. I'm talking more about how to choose direction on strategies. So, but it is 9 o'clock, anyways. If you got some questions, I don't mind answering them quickly. I'm going to cut off on the community side. So we have the ATA set up on that. Everything's ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And then I'll put out the room for you guys in the community here shortly. And TikTok, I'll hang out for a minute just to see if you have any questions.